Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Now listen, you've all heard of Facebook's new coin, Lebra coin. I'm going to tell you what. Here's the thing. I'm going to go into depth right now in a very good article I found, and it might be a little bit slow paced, so if you're not really interested in Lebra coin, because I'm going to go over it, I'm going to pick it apart piece by piece. It might take a few minutes, but it's probably going to be worth it if you're interested in Lebra coin and what this is big. This is really big. So stick with me. I'm going to go over it, and we're going to get started right now. We're going to open up the charts right here, and let's take a look at what's happening. Lebra is a sign of the horoscope, and the point I want to make out is the horoscope makes up the 12 months of the year, 12 signs of the zodiac, and each like for a different month. Well, Lebra is from September 23rd to October 22nd. It's very interesting. We want to keep that in mind. Now, let's take a look at this. Lebra will revolutionize the economy as we know it today. If this thing is successful, it's going to completely revolutionize the entire economy. Let's read on. It says, Facebook announced today its ambitious Lebra cryptocurrency project and a published white paper outlining Lebra's problem statement and coin structure. The Lebra is designed to be a global stablecoin which will enable easy and low-cost money transfers worldwide. Boy, I'll tell you, it sounds like the SDR. That's what this sounds like. And now, if you guys don't know what the SDR is, it's called strategic drawing rights, and it's the currency of that they were planning on having, that they were going to move into when the world's financial system, all the fiat currencies start to break apart and die. They were planning on doing a reset and moving into the strategic drawing rights. But this Lebra coin sounds like basically the strategic drawing rights, but just under a little bit different guise. It says Facebook announced its Lebra currency. According to Lebra's white paper, the world truly needs a reliable digital currency and infrastructure that can together deliver on the promises of the Internet of Money. So Lebra coin is going to basically be the Internet of Money for this usage. But to be more specific, this is not the Internet of Money. What they're actually putting forth right here is not going to be the Internet of Money. This is going to be the Internet of Currency. And there's a big difference. Basically what they're doing is another version of fiat, except it's like they're linking the different fiats together. Well, let's read on. You'll find out. This ambitious project is an excellent advancement for humanity, which, according to Lebra's white paper, will help provide 1.7 billion adults who are left outside the traditional banking system to gain access to financial services and cheap capital. This will also lower global transaction costs and will ease commerce around the world. I'm here to claim that Lebra can do much more. In the long run, this financial arrangement, which can develop into much more than a means of payment, will have the ability to remove nations' power over their currencies and money supplies, as well as strip central banks of their monetary policy tools. Hold the truck. Put the brakes on. Right here. Let's stop right here. Strip central banks of their monetary policy tools? Strip central banks of their power? That this has the power to strip central banks of their power? Suddenly, I'm sitting there thinking, how are they getting permission to basically do this? But evidently they do have permission, and all of a sudden my mind is like the gears are starting to turn inside my mind, It says, a brief history of money. To understand why we are facing a revolution. A revolution? What kind of revolution? says, we need to briefly go over the history of money as we know it today. Fiat money, paper or digital money issued by a central institution which is backed by the trust with no intrinsic value in the form of payments we use today, has only existed for 50 years. Yeah, 1971. Nixon took us off of the gold standard in 1971, and he basically cut the dollar free of a hard peg to anything of tangible value. He made it a true fiat currency. Okay, I should have read a little bit further. It says until 1971, money was linked directly to gold. Yeah, the gold standard. Every paper dollar could be converted to some amount of gold through a pegging system agreed upon by the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944, and in 1971 the U.S. terminated convertibility of the U.S. dollar to gold, effectively bringing the Bretton Woods system to an end and rendering the dollar a fiat currency. Basically, they should change the way that's worded a little bit, rendering the dollar worthless. With the creation of fiat money began an era of money printing across the globe, which was accompanied by wild inflation bursting out all over. It was just politically impossible to avoid money printing to deal with short-term problems when bad times came, like wars, deficits, etc. The politicians just couldn't help it. To deal with this inflation plague, the central banking system as we know it today was invented. Actually, the central banking system is earlier. It came earlier. In the United States, the central bank dates back more than 100 years. It says here, central banks already existed, but their role was mostly to function as a department of the Ministry of Finance and also to serve as a bank to the government. Some of them, however, did function as the central banks as we know them today. Central banks were then given a new job, which in most countries was specified by a designated law, to keep prices stable as well as to be responsible for overall financial stability and growth. They then set an inflation target, generally a strip of between 1% to 3% yearly inflation rate, and were given independence from the political change so that they could act to achieve these goals without interference. This worked for the most part. The inflation decrease was beaten. We won. Or did we? Financial crashes, quantitative easing, and Donald Trump. Are central banks still independent? He's asking the question. Well, you know, the central bank is set up on a principle here. And how this principle actually works is when the central bank of the United States was set up, going back to Jekyll Island when they contrived this whole thing and put it together, it's set up on a policy of an ever-expanding monetary system. Basically how it works is the monetary system has to keep expanding, they have to keep expanding the debt, and they have to keep creating new debt in order to pay off the old debts. And if the debt starts to collapse, in other words, if the world starts to deflate, if the world doesn't continuously inflate, if the world starts to deflate, then the money disappears because they did not create the money needed to pay off the interest on the money that they created. And that interest has accrued. And this is basically what the United States, over $20 trillion debt and over $100 trillion in unfunded liabilities is all about. It's all about this ever-expanding debt. And so, he says, fast forward to 2008, 20 years after the central bank independence, a financial tidal wave hit the United States economy when major financial and business institutions faced a domino effect, the result of the U.S. housing market collapse. And we all remember 2008 very well. The bundled mortgages. What they did was they took these mortgages. Some of these people were, and they bundled them all together. The mortgages. They'd take a whole big package full of mortgages. Like picture this as the papers, and they'd bundle them all together and wrap a ribbon around them, and they would mark them AAA. When in reality, a lot of the mortgages in there were with people that they had given houses to that they shouldn't have sold houses to, because they no way could pay the mortgage. But they bundled them all AAA, and this just created a subprime mortgage crisis of 2008. It was a financial tidal wave. A lot of institutions went down during that, and we've never really got over it. To tell you the truth, the financial system actually collapsed in 2008, and they've been using a bandage method. Basically, it's like covering an open wound with a bandage, and now at this point, it's went septus, and that's where we are right now with this whole thing. So, it says, okay, so I should read on here a little bit further. It says, the Federal Reserve came to the rescue. It provided liquidity, lower interest rates, and in the past 10 years has initiated 3 major quantitative easing plans. Fed's buying financial institutions in the market, and this is financed by money printing, which were meant to keep the economy stable and rescue the economy. The Federal Reserve printed money and inflated its balance sheet to an astronomical amount of $4.5 trillion. These assets were purchased on the free market by money printing, such as mortgage-backed securities and long-term government bonds, which are still in the central bank's possession. As the plan to decrease the Fed's balance sheet was recently frozen due to the U.S. economy slowing down, an excellent and disturbing question is, who is paying the bill for the quantitative easing plans and money printing? That big question concerns economists, as there currently is no observable inflation in the United States. Economists' views are not uninformed, but more and more people are becoming concerned that these quantitative easing plans have inflated the price of financial assets and real estate worldwide, opening up a substantial wealth disparity. Well, yes, quantitative easing has inflated many asset bubbles. And it's very strange, actually, the way things have worked, because there's certain sectors of the economy that are extremely inflated, and then other sectors that have been deflating since 2008. And so what you have is a strange dichotomy in the economy of certain sectors, like, say, fine art, for instance. They've inflated the price into a bubble. Expensive real estate, they've inflated the prices into a bubble in places like San Francisco, for instance, Whereas certain other places, like you can go out in places like West Virginia or down in Alabama or someplace, out in the middle of the boondocks and the boonies, and you can still find house prices haven't went up. In fact, they've went down a little bit, in certain areas of the country. And you can also find that it's only the real expensive things like antique cars, prices went way up and stuff. It's just certain items that the rich people buy. Like if you want to buy a swimming pool in the Hamptons, the swimming pool is going to be 3 times more expensive than it was back before 2008. Because the rich people got the money, and the items that they buy, like fine art, the prices went to the roof on these items, Meanwhile, they've been suppressing the price of gold and silver. So it's created huge wealth disparities, just what he's written here, wealth disparities. It says, furthermore, today we are seeing more pressure of political forces to intervene with the Federal Reserve policy for short-term political reasons, such as prospering stock markets before an election year. Many economists already believe that severe damage was made to central banking independence, which was compromised due to political forces putting massive pressure toward lowering interest rates and printing money. If this is the case, it means central independence is not the white horse that we were waiting for that will prevent money printing and manipulation. And it says, then came Lebra. To see why Lebra can threaten governments' ability to print money and use monetary policy, we must need to understand what stands behind each Lebra coin. According to Lebra's white paper, the asset value is tied to a basket of bank deposits and short-term government securities. This includes a slew of historically stable international currencies, including the dollar. So, we look at Lebra's white paper. the asset is tied to a basket of securities, and these include international currencies, including the US dollar, the pound, the euro, Swiss franc, and Japanese yen. Gosh, that sounds an awful lot to me like the SDR, because the SDR is a basket of currencies that are held stable because they're tied to international currencies, including the US dollar, pound, euro, Swiss franc, and Japanese yen. What am I missing here, guys? This sounds like the SDR. That's what it sounds like to me. It says the Lebra Association maintains this. Well, let's just put it this way. If the SDR had plans on coming out and going to 2.5 billion people on Earth, right? They better get on with it quick, because Lebra's going to do it first. Okay? It says the Lebra Association maintains this basket of assets and can change the balance of its composition if necessary to offset significant price fluctuations in any one foreign currency, so that the value of Lebra stays consistent, according to the white paper. So this basically means that Lebra is going to adjust the value of these other currencies valued in Lebra. So Lebra is going to be the other currencies are going to come in like each individual one, and they're going to be rated according to how much they're worth in Lebra. Holy cow. It says this means that the Lebra Association will take on a similar role to central banks. A big part of its responsibility will be to maintain and stabilize the real value of Lebra currency. We can notice that not all coins and government securities will be accepted in the Lebra basket. No third world country coins or low-quality assets appear on this list. This gives the Lebra Association tremendous power, derived from its ability to determine the structure of the Lebra basket. And so, in other words, Lebra can say, well, the euro is not worth as much as it was because of this, this, and this, and this, and they can set the valuation for the euro. Or, I mean, talk about tremendous power. It says the more Lebra is accepted, the more power the Lebra Association will have from the ownership of the basket composition. If Lebra is widely accepted, it would mean that the asset would be one of the world's largest stores of value and financial assets. As such, any abuse of money or financial assets by governments might cause the Lebra Association to decrease that government's portion in the Lebra basket, and thus its usage in international trade. Why should the Lebra Association give access to its basket to anyone who provides it with bad money? They're asking that question. In other words, if your country is producing bad money, it's not even going to get in the Lebra basket. So they could, when they get the total power, and they get the, say they get this, and this goes worldwide everywhere, and everybody's got these Lebra coins and everything, right? And this is where the stability of money is coming from. Then they can control, they'll have control over the fiat. It says, due to this mechanism, the more accepted the Lebra will be, the less power major nations will have over their currencies. Countries will become merely suppliers to the Lebra, and the Lebra Association will pick their suppliers carefully. The Lebra Association can then become the institution that ranks the suppliers of its money by its quality. Finally, a free market for the money, a market which derives bad money out and compensates suppliers of good money. If you're not any good, you're out of the game. Lebra's white paper states, we believe that people have an inherent right to control the fruit of their legal labor. If governments are printing money, they are stripping citizens of the right to control that fruit of their labor. For me, money printing seems like a contradiction to Lebra's philosophy, and that philosophy strengthens my belief that they understand these complex implications for the monetary system in which we live. Why should anyone use fiat currency, which is vulnerable to government manipulation and money printing, when they can use a currency that is backed by a basket of best currencies and financial assets? It says here, he says, if Lebra works, and the Lebra Association does an excellent job of providing stability for the currency, it will most likely be widely accepted and just too good not to be widely... He said it's just too good not to be widely accepted. It's better money. It's more stable, less vulnerable to manipulation, and easy to transfer. If successful, I guess that is in the long run. In other words, he's saying if it's successful, we'll see. We'll see if it's successful, he's saying. He says the Lebra Association will have a significant influence and power due to its ability to compose the asset basket, which will control the demand for different fiat currencies and financial assets. Holy crying out loud, you know? And so, I'm asking myself this question. The name Lebra, did they just pick it by chance? Or did they pick it because it falls on this date, September 23rd to October 22nd? You know? What's up with that date? I don't know. But anyway, this is really big. Because this is, if it's successful in the whole world, this Lebra currency, what it'll enable them to do is to decide which currencies they're going to include in the Lebra. And if and they can rate them according to how much value they have. So, if your currency is a country that is taking care of your finances properly and your currency's worth a lot, then it'll be included in the Lebra. And this is going to encourage countries not to overprint their currencies or to print their currencies into oblivion if this is successful. If it's successful. I don't know. Maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll be a total failure. But it does have, I think it's 2.4 billion people that they can tap into with this thing, and they are working from a huge corporation, you know. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens. Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.